ChatGerry, from 1983 Linguistics I to 2026 Medical I, number 1563, the 7th of March 2026, Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation, category, Artificial Intelligence and Personal Innovation. Preface, this article describes a personal journey across 4 decades. From my early attempt to build a language processing AI system in 1983 at age 36 to my present use of artificial intelligence to LS in medical research in 2026 at age 79, through this long 43 years experience, I gradually discovered an important difference between human reasoning and machine reasoning. Today, my research work relies on a practical collaboration between natural intelligence, the human brain, and artificial intelligence, modern commercial AI tools. I call this the Ne+AI model. Introduction. During the past 2 years since the availability of Chat, I have spent a great deal of time working with modern AI writing systems. Through this experience, I gradually noticed an interesting pattern in how these tools are used. Today's commercial AI systems can produce very clean and grammatically correct sentences. Their writing structure is logical, paragraphs flow smoothly, and the final result often appears polished and elegant. However, something important is often missing. I frequently remove the concrete examples that explain and support an idea. The sentence may look beautiful, but the explanation sometimes becomes abstract and hollow, without real examples or observable evidence. The statement can sound polished but unrealistic, almost like a political speech where the language is impressive but the proof is weak. Over time, I began to describe this phenomenon as the example gap or the abstraction trap. AI tends to compress explanations into elegant summaries while removing the details that give the idea real meaning. This observation did not appear suddenly. It emerged gradually through decades of thinking about language, engineering, and computation. In many ways, it connects directly to my early experience from more than 40 years ago. Engineering thinking, idea, example, mechanism, implication. My thinking style was shaped by academic training in mathematics, physics, and engineering mechanics. Engineers rarely present an idea by itself. An idea must be supported by examples, measurements, graphs, diagrams, and physical explanations. In simple terms, engineering reasoning often follows a clear structure: idea, example, mechanism, implication. An idea becomes meaningful only when supported by observable evidence. For example, if I explain blood pressure behavior, I would not simply say that blood pressure fluctuates. I would immediately describe how it behaves. Blood pressure oscillates with each heartbeat, changes with breathing, and varies with circadian rhythms throughout the day. I would also describe how fast these changes occur, which relates to the signal's frequency. These are not decorative descriptions, they are physical evidence showing how the system works. When AI removed these examples in order to simplify a sentence, the wording may still sound smoother, but the scientific meaning becomes weaker or hollow. Recognizing this difference helped me better understand the contrast between natural intelligence and today's artificial intelligence. The 1983 Stanford University experience. This realization reminded me of an early experience from 1983 when I was working with a linguistics professor at Stanford University. At that time, we attempted to build a computer system capable of processing human language. Conceptually, the idea was quite similar to what systems like Chat do today. Our goal was to combine linguistic knowledge with computer algorithms so that machines could generate meaningful human language, and fortunately our attempt failed. The idea itself was not wrong. In fact, it was ahead of its time, but the technological environment of the early 1980s simply could not support such a system. 3 critical conditions required for modern AI did not exist then. First, computing power was extremely limited. The computers available in the early 1980s lacked the processing capability needed to analyze complex language patterns, and their memory and storage capacity were very small. Today, this limitation has largely disappeared with cloud-scale GPU computing that allows enormous neural networks to be trained across distributed systems. Second, large language datasets did not exist. Modern AI systems learn from billions of sentences collected from books, articles, and the internet. In 1983, this kind of large-scale data infrastructure was simply unavailable. Third, there was a major gap between disciplines. Linguistics focused on grammar theory and sentence structure, while engineering and computer science focused on algorithms and computational efficiency. These 2 fields approached language from completely different directions. Because of this gap, it was Extremely difficult to translate linguistic theory into working computational systems. Looking back today, it is clear that modern AI became possible only after several elements converged: powerful computing hardware, massive datasets, and interdisciplinary collaboration among linguistics, mathematics, and computer science. Interestingly, the development path of modern AI resembles the approach I use today in my medical research. My current biomedicine research work integrates mathematics, physics, engineering, physiology, and pathology to analyze complex biomedical systems. Nevertheless, I am still proud of having such forward-thinking ideas based on my mid-engineering training back in 1983, more than 40 years before OpenAI introduced Chat in early 2024. The location was the same, Silicon Valley, but the innovators and timing were different. Natural intelligence and artificial intelligence. Today, I see natural intelligence and artificial intelligence as complementary systems rather than rivals. The human brain operates through associative thinking. When I examine a dataset, many related ideas can appear almost simultaneously. Concepts from mathematics, physics, engineering, system analysis, and pathophysiology may suddenly connect together. I sometimes describe this as the neuron way of thinking. Artificial intelligence operates differently. AI processes information step by step and part by part. It constructs sentences sequentially, performs calculations, and generates graphs systematically. I once watched Chat generate a graphic figure using my dataset. It processed the information digit by digit and equation by equation, almost like a beginning high school student solving a math problem, except it works at extremely high speed. AI is excellent at organizing information and performing repetitive tasks, but it still lacks the intuitive pattern recognition that the human brain possesses. For AI, I would describe its ability more as pattern repetition rather than true recognition. Human intelligence can jump across distant concepts and connect them almost instantly. These conceptual leaps often lead to scientific discoveries and innovation. The No.1563 model. In my current medical research work, I combine both systems. Natural intelligence generates ideas and builds structures through pattern recognition and cross-disciplinary thinking. Artificial intelligence helps organize those ideas into structured explanations. In many ways, modern AI tools have become extremely efficient research assistants. Around 2010, I hired a medical doctor as my research assistant with a salary of about $200,000 per year. Today, I pay about $240 per year for AI subscription services. The difference in cost is remarkable. Of course, a human assistant can participate in intellectual discussions, but most of the tasks I need help with involve organizing data, producing figures, and structuring written explanations. AI performs these tasks extremely efficiently and at very low cost. My daily research workflow now follows 4 steps: 1. Idea generation through natural intelligence. 2. Idea capture through notes or saved conversations. 3. Idea organization and expansion with AI assistance. 4. Knowledge production through the No.1563 collaboration. 4 decades later, in many ways this process resembles what the Stanford linguistics professor and I tried to accomplish more than 40 years ago. The difference is that modern technology has finally caught up with my original idea. Over these 4 decades, my career has moved from engineering design and high-tech entrepreneurship in Silicon Valley to medical research today. Instead of trying to build an AI system myself, I now use commercial AI tools to support my medical research work. Natural intelligence generates ideas and recognizes patterns, while artificial intelligence organizes those insights into clear communication. AI tools have saved about 4 to 5 hours of my natural intelligence working time for each paper I write. One main reason is that English is my second language, which I began learning after arriving in the United States at age 20, 6 decades ago. My original idea of a linguistic AI system did not fail. It simply had to wait for the world to catch up 4 decades later, when someone else finally made it possible. Epilogue. I finally realized that my pattern recognition capability has been the major reason for my success across 6 decades in academics, professional work, high-tech business, and medical research. Disclaimer: I write this paper not for fame, but to share what I have learned so others can understand their health, prevent disease, and live longer, healthier lives. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author, Gerald C. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author, Gerald C.